Test, test, 1, 2. Am I audible? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Am I coming through? That means you're through,
Uh,
Cal.
I can hear you. I forgot to mute the YouTube, so I heard you twice.
Hi, Net Fisher.
Uh,
Hi, Miss Elsmere. Hi, Alan
you
Lord. Hi,
haven't
Plot.
switched the starting soon over.
Hi, Kaito. Hi, everybody. Do you like my new setting up screen? I worked very hard on it. It speaks. It's a piece of my soul. Hi, Daryl. Thank you for the See, Daryl knows what's up. Daryl understands the hard work that went into this setting up screen. It's very important. It's important to recognize genius when you see it, and Daryl understands that. But hello, everyone, and welcome to the first, for the foreseeable future, geek show that is pretty much just me and Cal. Amanda is taking an extended break, and we wish her well. So it's just going to be me and Cal holding down the fort for now. Per usual.
We'll have guests on during June for Pride Month.
My audio is low. Volume percentage.
So you should be able to adjust just your audio in your
I'm gonna
OBS
turn it up
settings.
to
Okay.
120, maybe 125.
Okay.
There, that should do it. Sorry about that, folks. Let me know if this is any better. Let me know if it's still too quiet. And let me know if Kel is too quiet too. Hi, Nudist. Hi, everyone.
I think in the past, yeah. Oh, how am I good on your
You sound good to
audio
me.
people? Well, like the people listening, what do they feel? Kel is good. Okay.
All right. As a matter of fact, I'm
Now,
gonna turn
Spike,
this.
you need to switch over to us drawing.
Yes, I
As
do. But
beautiful
first,
as your queen
no,
graphic
it's
is,
gorgeous. 36 or 39. I'm gonna make it
people
140.
people want to see your Keebler elves.
Okay.
That's what the people are here for.
They are.
Keebler
All
elves
right.
and gay werewolves.
I've brought it up a little bit more. Hopefully that should help. Spike is still pretty quiet. Holy shit. I hope that's some lag there because I turned it up to 140%. Maybe if I turn it up on the mic itself. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it is this fucking mic. It's your fault, Mike. There we go. That should help. Hopefully.
Fuck you, Mike.
Fuck you, Mike. You don't know nothing, Mike. Matter of fact, let me turn it up just a tiny. Let's make it 150. Let's go kind of crazy. Test. Hopefully that'll work. If I'm still a little quiet, well, oh, better. Great. Fantastic. Good.
Yeah, good.
And with that, ta-da! The new streaming setup, everybody. Let me see if I can't find my. Oh my god, I didn't. Where's my fucking. Ah! There you are. I lost my stylus. Since I'm in charge of setup now, I was doing all the setup stuff and not all the drawing stuff. But yeah, per usual, you can also watch Cal stream on Twitch on their dedicated Twitch channel.
But now they can also see me here. So
yes, so it'll still be two drawings now. Hey, I know. There we go. So yeah, hi everyone. Hello, welcome to the Geek Show. My main concern for Amanda. By the way, Amanda is fine. Amanda is just taking a break. Amanda is just off seeing the world. Just sort of picture her in a hot air balloon over the English Channel or something. And we're gonna, and you know, she plans on coming back, but like not soon. It shouldn't be. It's not a big deal though. We're enough for you, right, everybody?
Spike, I have an important question for you.
I have an important answer for you. Let's see if they match.
If you have a pirate attacks you and you take them prisoner,
yeah,
and then you transform them into a cow using mad science, and then kill them to make hamburgers, is it still murder?
This is some RimWorld shit, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I believe it is murder because all meat in its own way is murder. It's just some murder is more delicious than others.
Delicious, delicious murder.
Yeah, it's not cannibalism, but it is murder. That is my moral. That is my moral thing. However,
for reference, people, before the stream started, I saw on Tumblr someone was like, based on the video game you just finished, what crimes are you getting arrested for?
All of them. All of them.
And I listed in mine. I did not list murder because I don't think that meat is murder. I think murder is a human killing another human.
Okay.
I think that my war crimes were basically cannibalism,
Mhm.
organ harvesting, unethical experimentations on both humans and animals,
Okay.
massive drug production, and drug sale.
Yeah. Yeah. I too have been playing RimWorld. For folks who don't follow me on X, Nudist is saying, "How do y'all feel about turtle meat?" Nudist, I actually had a plan a couple of years ago. My whole thing is if I have a good year, and if by I mean like if Iron Circus has a good year because it is inextricable from myself, basically. I decided I was going to treat myself by getting an exotic meat. And I was going to have snapping turtle because I was incredibly curious about how snapping turtle tasted and I'd never had it before. But then Lackadaisy absolutely ran like way over budget. And when I say Lackadaisy, I mean the original animated short. It just absolutely blew out of the water. We had originally planned for something like 13, 15 minutes long, and it ended up being 27 minutes. And when you damn near double what you were planning, you feel it. So we had to cut any sort of unnecessary spending, so I never did get my turtle meat. But maybe I should get it at the end of this year, because this year is shaping up to be a pretty good year. I will reward myself with a turtle carcass, as one does.
I'll try any animal.
Yeah.
As long as it's not endangered.
Yeah, that PETA stuff never really worked on me because I love dogs with all my heart. I would definitely try one. Like I'd try a person.
I mean, animals eat animals all the time, so they're not
yeah,
winning any arguments for me.
yeah. I would eat a person if it was a person that had given their consent to be eaten, because sapience definitely incurs a certain sort of special permission necessitated. If I acknowledged the person wanted to be eaten, they had given their permission, and they were prepared by someone who knew how to prepare human meat so that it was, most most respectful or, best prepared, I would definitely eat that person. Also, if it was like a, airplane crash in the Andes situation, I would definitely eat a person.
I think it was you that linked it to me. I just assume it was you because it involves cannibalism. But wasn't there a guy who had to have his leg amputated and he wanted to take his leg home to eat it?
Yes, that is a real thing. That really happened. And Spike, that red is awful light. Are you on the photo layer? I am. My dumb ass is absolutely on the photo layer. So we're going to go ahead and undo everything we just did. Alligator is okay, Nudist. I've had alligator, but I don't even know if it really counts. I've had alligator and rattlesnake, but they are both breaded and deep fried. And it's like, come on. Like, deep fried and breaded stuff, after a bit, it kind of all tastes the same. So, I don't know if I'd really even say it counts as having alligator and snake.
I forget who it was, but there was some guy who was like on a mission to eat all the quote unquote trash animals. And basically, because animals frequently get the flavor of things they eat, he was like, yeah, a lot of trash animals do not taste good.
Yep.
Because they eat literal garbage.
Yep.
Like he was like, seagulls were the worst, I think he said.
You think they taste like French fry grease or something?
He was like, they kind of taste like fishy garbage.
Okay.
So he's like, rotten fish is what he compared their taste to.
Alan Lord is saying the Geek Show's taken a hell of a dark turn without Amanda around. Yeah, I have to admit, I don't have to worry now because Amanda doesn't like it.
No,
because
I still don't want you to talk about dead babies.
What about cannibalism? You seem okay with that?
Well, because we're talking about consensual cannibalism, so that's fine.
Is that what you call what you do in RimWorld? That doesn't seem very consensual to me.
No. I was talking about the guy who wanted to eat his own leg.
Okay. All right, that's different. There's also that's reminiscent of something too. There was a movie that was out years ago that I never got around to seeing. I should probably try though, because it's right up my alley because it's fucked up and weird. And it's called Finders Keepers. And if I may be misremembering, but I believe what it was about was a man got his lower leg amputated and he lost track of it. He asked the surgeon if he could keep it, and the surgeon was like, okay, weird, but okay. And he took it home, and somehow he lost track of his own amputated lower leg. And it wound up in a piece of furniture that was either left by the side of the road as a freebie or was auctioned off or given to Goodwill or something like that. And a person bought it, took it home, and there was just a severed human leg, like a preserved severed human leg. And they're like, holy shit. And word got around, this person found a preserved severed human leg in their Goodwill haul or whatever. And the owner of the leg, the former owner of the leg, was like, oh, great, you found it. Can I have it back? And from the title of the movie, I'm assuming you can guess what happened. Yeah.
There's a really good Always Sunny episode about cannibalism.
Yeah.
Frank is tired of Charlie and Dee stealing his exotic meats that he keeps in his freezer.
I would also tire of that very quickly. Exotic meats are
not
cheap.
So he puts a mystery meat in the freezer, and when they steal it and eat it, he tells them that it's human. And then they have sudden cravings and hunger, and they're convinced that they're like now craving more human flesh. At the reveal, it was a raccoon that was roadkill, so they probably have like a tapeworm or something.
Yeah.
Says that I'm very loud.
It says Kel is very loud. Okay, I'll tell you what. How about if
You can turn me down.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Sorry, folks. This is going to take a little bit to get the hang of. Amanda used to do all this. Okay. Kel, say something.
So Dee and Charlie had a tapeworm. Okay. And that was like the fun, goofy reveal. But there is a part where they go to a morgue and they try to buy their way into the morgue. Mm-hmm. And the morgue attendant assumes that they're there to have sex with the bodies.
Well, who isn't?
And it's like, that's fine as long he's like, and it's funny because they talk about like if they can maybe get in, like they're very clearly coming up with a lie, and the morgue attendant just sighs and goes, $500 and I'll give you an hour, no questions asked. And they're perplexed and then try to be very insistent that they're not going to have sex with the bodies. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Okay. So I am trying. Would you rather have a tapeworm or a botfly? I would rather have a tapeworm because a botfly would leave a scar. No one can see what the insides of your intestines look like.
I don't know. I don't know enough about either.
A botfly, Kel, is when a botfly, it likes to land on the mucous membranes, but not always.
Amanda doesn't like dead baby talk.
Yes, this isn't about dead baby.
I don't like discussions of pus or bodily fluids that aren't blood. I really, really like, that's why I couldn't watch Animal Hoarders, because they almost always had like some sort of crusty pus like infected thing. I can't do that. Like last time you and Amanda were discussing something, I like muted the conversation and walked away.
Oh my god. I had no idea. I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, no, wow. It was Amanda was talking about, I think, one of her sick rats. And I was like, I cannot, like.
Yeah. I get you. Oh, we will do our best to not talk
Uh,
about pus and bodily fluids. What that means,
I'll just leave.
I have bad news
And
for everyone. That means it's time to talk about my Rimworld colony.
let's talk about your RimWorld colony.
I don't know who here plays it and who doesn't, but the one thing I will say tonight is if you do not have vanilla vehicles expanded and vehicles expanded tier 3, you're missing out. It's so fucking fun to have cars in Rimworld, especially when, if you can sort of imagine it, like a Smokey and the Bandit ass kind of like Thunderbird tearing out of some little fort and running over a giant ground sloth. It's like that's when the game's at its most fun. You just picture these like two little red pandas like in the cornfields, like making cute little like Pokemon noises at one another. And they're just pulped by your car.
Yep.
And then like before you can even think about it, a fucking cougar just trots out the front door of your base and picks up the pulped red pandas and throws them in the freezer because that's what we're having for dinner. Rimworld is good shit.
I really like to start as I have a custom start that I have called Mad Scientist Lesbians.
Yeah, you did mention that.
And basically I have them all be lesbians, so that's their form of birth control.
Yeah. And you do need birth control on Rimworld for real these days.
Yeah. And so I start them as tribal, which is again, that's why they're lesbians, because that's how I'm going to do birth control as they go through the different technological brackets. And the mission is almost always to make as many hybrid animals as possible. And to continue the colony after they figure out in vitro fertilization. Last time I was playing, they had successfully made all of the wolf hybrids. Because I start with wolves because I love them. And then what's fun is you get some thrumbo DNA in Pawn Morpher, and then you can turn any prisoner into a thrumbo. But when they're first transformed, they pass out. So it's a very easy to kill thrumbo. And it leads to them making the royal palace like fully furnished with thrumbo fur curtains and couches.
None
It's
of
great.
this means anything to anyone who doesn't play Rimworld.
They live in a decadent. They slowly build up their decadent base. I always turn off infestations because I want to build an elaborate mountain base, and I don't want to deal with that shit.
You know what? This sucks. I'm deleting you.
But also part of this starting thing is there's 10 colonists, and each of them is very good at one thing, and they suck at everything else. So it's like passion in their one thing, and then like zero skill in everything else.
Dang. Oh, so you know what it is? It's fucking. Hold on. God damn it.
Yeah.
It's just. Hold on. I regret you. Get back. Get out. Get out. I regret you. Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. Terrible. What is this floor? This floor is not gonna fucking do it. This is bad. Oh, you go in the garbage. Get out of here. Okay. Now, where was I? See, sometimes the models act really super weird when you put them down in Clip Studio Paint, and the problem is usually the floor is in a place it shouldn't be. There we go. That is so much better. And when I turn you, yes, okay, cool. You're not all weird and off center anymore. Perfect, wonderful, love you. Don't change a thing. All right, now, and I need.
That's usually how I approach Rimworld. Is I got 10 ladies. Each of them is good at one skill.
I try and play it a little differently every time. like what I'm like it kind of always defaults to them kind of the best way to do, like they just escape the planet and eventually end up planet hopping because that's how I keep things interesting, especially if I'm installing new mods. Like, you know, like for example, everybody, if somebody makes a mod and the mod's all, now you can have, you know, insect people in your game. You can't add insect people settlements mid game. But if you go to a whole new planet, hey, look, there's some insect people settlements here. Yay! So that's why it's usually nice to have a game that can go from planet to planet and basically force the planet to respawn from time to time, just so you get something novel. That's how
I think it's because I almost never get to the end because something will update and break the game.
Yeah.
So one day I'll get to the end of my lesbian run, and they will achieve all their goals. But I really like to have Rim of Magic in the game because then they can have pet direwolves, and I also have the mod that lets your animals hunt for you. And direwolves are so OP. Like they're broken. Like the only thing they can't stand up against is a dragon. And dragons very rarely pop up in the game.
Yeah, see, I draw the line there. It's like I'm okay with dwarves and Jotun and elves and all kinds of crazy shit, but for some reason I don't want actual abracadabra type magic in my game. I just don't want it. It's like I get that, you know, whatever. The game is already inherently ridiculous.
I think I might stop using it because now the psychic powers, the vanilla expanded psychics is so powerful, like that it kind of makes the Rim of Magic redundant. And I was really keeping Rim of Magic around for the animals rather than the actual magic powers. But yeah, next time I start a game, I'm waiting for all my mods to get up to 1.5. I assume it will be a while. So that's why I'm going to play Baldur's Gate 3 on Sundays. So all y'all, you should come watch me play the Dark Urge and Baldur's Gate 3 and murder a bunch of people. He's a beautiful tiefling.
God, he looks so awkward in this pose, but I promise it'll make sense when I'm done. I don't know how you can like stand being social so much.
Me?
Yeah, you. I just want to be fucking left alone so much. You know, it's like my whole deal. I don't want to.
Okay, it's because I live alone. Okay.
That is a point. That is a point.
Yeah. So when I'm streaming, that's when I talk to people. That's it. Like I don't talk to anyone else the whole rest of the day.
Yeah. By the way, everyone, just as an example of how I'm just like fuck everybody. This past weekend was TCAF, which is considered one of the best sort of comic conventions on the non-superhero calendar, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, all the indie kids want to go to TCAF or are going to TCAF or dream of going to TCAF one day because, you know, there is a monetary barrier there. You do have to get a passport and travel to another country and all that. But it's still not just a good convention. It's a good selling convention. You go to TCAF and you absolutely make money, which is a nice change of pace, quite frankly, from a lot of smaller cons.
Caveat: you make money if your travel expenses aren't that big.
Yeah, if you're
we've talked about this. Yeah. That I usually did not make money at TCAF because my plane ticket is always over $1,000.
Yeah, I am in Chicago though, so the flights.
Yes, yeah. So I'm just saying for the listeners at home.
Yeah.
Spike makes money because a Chicago to Toronto flight is much cheaper than a Portland to Toronto flight.
It's nothing. It's so cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, good point.
Full transparency and
I'm a house gremlin. Yeah. Yeah, but like Toronto's convention, TCAF. Okay, so the thing about countries that are not America, a lot of them have functional arts funding, And TCAP is actually a government-funded event, and it is free. It is held in a library, and you can walk in off the street. And when it was being run by a friend of mine, I don't know who it's being run by now. I believe it was last year. Oh, there was a mess last year, and we can talk about that. But it did its best to like fly in people who are international cartoonists. Like Shintaro Kago was one of my favorite people they ever flew in. And they provide them with translators and let them walk around the city and have them do panels with translators. It's fucking rad. It's just a really good show, and the sales are good. And it was kind of almost this indie darling, I guess. It was like one of the best shows on the indie calendar until last year. And then it kind of blew all its cred completely, like, out of the window, because it invited an NFT artist, and everybody was like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" And one of their guests actually canceled and went, "I am not doing the show anymore because this is ridiculous. How could you invite this person?" And yeah, they eventually rescinded the invite, and of course that NFT person ended up doing a rug pull like 3 seconds afterwards because NFTs. And
that's what
NFTs do. Perhaps some of you, Pencil Ears remembers, yeah, Pink Cat, just, and like the thing that was extra frustrating about Pink Cat is not only did they do NFTs, but something like 90% of their work was traced or highly cribbed from other creators, and in such a way that, like, it's clear she didn't think much of her audience, number one. And number two, it's hard to describe this. The best way I can put it is there are people who steal from comics in such a way that, number one, they make it very clear they don't think comics deserve to not be stolen from. They don't think like what is in comics should be permitted the honor of its own right to exist outside of how they decide to interpret it. And also they had this very art kid vibe, and as a person who has gone to art school, and Cal, you've gone to art school, maybe you can kind of relate. There is this vibe that certain art school people get, that their particular art, they can do whatever the fuck they want because they can bullshit an excuse to justify literally anything they do. And so
SCAD's a little bit different. And because it is so focused, they kind of treat it more like a trade school. So because it's so focused on the commercial aspect of art, at least the sequential major and the animation majors and like any sort of major that is more mass media focused, there was less of that sort of attitude. I definitely heard a story or two about other majors having some people with that kind of attitude. But yeah, it was, SCAD is more about like, this is how you make money and this is how you meet a deadline. To the detriment, like I actually was talking to a friend about the pros of SCAD is that it teaches you how to meet a deadline and it gives you a solid foundation of fundamentals. The downside is that it doesn't actually encourage you to think about what you're drawing or what you're saying with your art. So there's less of that attitude that you're talking about because they don't care about that. They want you to meet a deadline. So it seems like they're trying to train you to be someone else's hired hand and be sort of a cog in an art machine.
Kind of like what I've heard about CalArts. Keep in mind, CalArts, folks, if I'm not mistaken, CalArts was like literally founded by the Disney Corporation to train their animators. So
Forget. Yeah.
yeah, so basically they just wanted like people they knew were going to come into the house and know how to do what was going to be asked of them. Like that was like the original purpose of CalArts. I'm sure it's evolved beyond that purpose, but that was its origin story.
Yeah.
Petzler's just saying,
So
I
yeah,
think
so
most of
it's
my BFA was just
yeah.
like training to get an MFA and become an art teacher, which I did not do. Yeah, same. Fucking same. Fucking same. Although my parents for a long time told people I was going to become an art professor because I think they thought that was more respectable than, I don't know, drawing fucking cartoons on the internet, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is gonna be good enough. Let me go ahead and lock him in place. Get this taken care of. But yeah. Yeah, but yeah, there is this sort of, and you see it a lot in fine art, which might be the difference between SCAD and where I ended up going, which is the Art Institute of Chicago. Not the School of the Art it's like where I went is the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, not the Art Institutes of America. It is different. The School of the Art Institute of Chicago is connected to the Art Institute of Chicago, which is a museum. The Art Institutes of America are a for-profit rip-off diploma mill. Those are two different things. I should note, I don't think the School of the Art Institute of Chicago is like superior or anything. I certainly didn't get much out of it, but there is a distinction. I did not go to a for-profit school, so when I tell people don't go to for-profit schools, that's not me being a fucking hypocrite or whatever people say. Anyway, but a lot of the people who ended up going to the School of the Art Institute, there were a lot of foreign students. And the vibe among a lot of the foreign students is that they never, ever, 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 ever had to worry about ever being employed. And so any issues that came up in their work, they kind of really didn't care. It's hard to describe. Like it's bizarre because like you would point these things out, like these obvious sort of flaws in their morality is the best way to put it. Like you didn't make that, you just traced that's not a thing you made, and they just kind of would look at you and be like, okay, it's like, no, you don't understand why it's wrong to pass someone else's work off as your own. Like we can't get over the first hurdle here, so it's like what else is there left to say to you? But that was what it's like this is a fine art attitude. I find a lot the very Liechtenstein attitude. I'm going to just put it on a wall and my art is changing the context and therefore it counts. And other fine artists are totally fine with that, so it flies there. But like I was saying with Pink Cat, who clearly has this kind of like fine art background, I genuinely think she was shocked that people are like, you're literally tracing the Tank Girl guy. And she would be like, yeah, that's not cool. Why not? Because it's copying. Yeah. And so it's like talking to a brick wall. It was like talking to a brick wall because it's like she doesn't consider that wrong. Where she comes from, she was in an environment, she was in an arts environment where that's not wrong. That's not objectionable. And it does sound a little bleak. Yeah, I suppose. Sorry, cross-threaded. Yeah. But yeah, that was she was a TCAF special guest last year, and kind of all of comics was up in an uproar about it.
Yeah,
because that's fucking gross. Like, why is a NFT grifter a special guest at TCAF? And for a couple of days, there was clearly some Benny Hill running around behind the scenes shit going on. I don't like this. Benny Hill's running around behind the scenes shit going on because I don't think they expected as violent an objection as they got.
Well, it was discovered that one guy who was on the board that year had some sort of investment or whatever in her stupid NFTs. Like he was one of the people that she conned. Yeah. So he like had a financial interest in
more like
her NFTs doing better.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Again, this is Okay, for folks who don't know, I grew up in a town called Potomac, Maryland. And a lot of people in Potomac, Maryland, like two kinds of people live in Potomac, Maryland. One is the kind of people who want to make DC money but don't want to live in DC. So they resign themselves to driving 45 minutes to work and 45 minutes back every day for their entire working lives so they can live on a McMansion on 3/4 of an acre. That kind of person. And the other kind of person is like the person who owns, they're not even called, what are they called these days? The Washington Captains, the Washington Generals, the Washington football team. Like that guy lives there, you know? Michael Jackson had a house there or tried to have a house there at some point. The King of Jordan had a house there. Those are the kind of people who live there. And because of that, holy shit, where was I even going with this? God, what were we even talking about? I am reading through the thing here. But yeah, because of that, there was a certain exposure to a certain kind of person that I got fairly frequently and fairly often. And I recognized Pink Cat's behavior from experience, from like kind of like personal experience. There are people who sort of walk through the world who are utterly convinced like nothing will ever happen to them and they will never experience a consequence. And because of that, because there is no impetus for them to accomplish anything, like a lot of people have the impetus to accomplish because, and I'm not saying this is fair, I'm just saying this is how it is. They have the impetus to accomplish because if they don't accomplish, they will be homeless and die. Like a lot of people have the impetus to go to work to every day and, you know, get that paycheck because if they don't, they will be homeless and die. A lot of people have this impetus to finish college because if they don't, life will be exponentially more difficult than it might otherwise be for them. Like the threat of the pit keeps a lot of people on the straight and narrow. And there is a whole class of person, and I do mean class as an economic class of person, who lives entirely without fear. And that may sound nice to you, but again, as a person who was like exposed to these people growing up, I assure you that raises one of like two kinds of people. The first kind of person is like the psychotic overachiever, like Jeff Bezos or Steven Spielberg. They came out of those kind of environments. Or the person who literally does nothing with their life ever because they don't have to. What were you going to say, Cal?
I don't know if I called Jeff Bezos one of those people.
You don't think he is a psychotic overachiever?
No, I mean, like, he didn't come from that background.
He came from a well-off background, though. I mean,
not that well off.
His parents loaned him $300,000.
But that was like something they got while he was a teenager.
Okay.
Like, it's the people without fear that I'm thinking of. I immediately went to Elon Musk mentally, like,
yeah, and I believe Elon Musk is quite frank. Like the thing that kind of amazes me about Elon Musk is, okay, just for folks in here who don't know, he did not found Tesla. He is not the founder of Tesla. He bought Tesla, just like he buys pretty much everything. But he is so angry when that is pointed out that he has been known to like call up Tesla employees and newspapers and yell at them if they mention he didn't found Tesla, that he bought Tesla, which is it's like it's the truth. He yells at them for telling the truth, which is sort of indicative of kind of where his brain's at.
He's mad that people know that his dad owned an emerald mine.
Yeah, and he doesn't get to manufacture this story about how he crawled up from nothing, you know, all by his lonesome, all by his little itty bitty baby self. He doesn't get to like live in that fantasy. And that seems to genuinely fucking bother him when people like remind him of that, which is, I think he is kind of almost this mixture. I believe he's going down in flames. I should note that now. I believe he is going down in flames.
Yeah, no.
I believe we are maximum 5 years out from an Elon Musk or and or Tesla bankruptcy. And when it happens, it's going to be really funny. But I think he's almost a mix of the kind of person who is like a psychotic overachiever, except his is tainted by stupidity and bigotry. And
Yes.
I also believe that he is kind of almost, he is in this phase now where he is almost transforming into a do nothing as opposed to a psychotic overachiever. Yeah, that man, Cross-Threaded is saying that man is absolutely going to implode violently. Yeah, for sure.
So Spike, what do you think will go bankrupt first, Twitter or Tesla?
Oh, absolutely Twitter. Twitter
Okay.
for sure. I think Tesla's big issue is going to be further loss of consumer confidence as they are investigated for fraud. Because that's a thing that seems to get lost in the noise right now. They are currently, as we speak, under investigation for mail fraud. And mail fraud's what the government gets everybody on when they don't think they can get you on anything else. That's what sent Capone to Alcatraz, mail fraud.
No. Capone went to jail for tax evasion.
Oh, was it tax evasion? I thought it was mail
Yes,
fraud.
he didn't pay taxes on all the money he made via crime. That's what they got him on. They had proof that he had an income that he was not paying taxes on. Oh. So if he had paid taxes on all the bootlegging and the murder, they wouldn't have caught him.
You know what? This pose is not working. Let's just delete it wholesale. How about that? I'm not going to fight it. If the pose isn't going to fucking work with me, I'm not going to fight it. You learn that eventually, by the way.
That's why there's so many drug stuff talks about like, well, we have to have our business that's a front, because they learned their lesson from Capone that they need to have a fake real business to pay taxes on their income.
America. Fuck yeah. Hey, 25 people. Holy shit. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I hope I'm not bringing the room down too hard with my bullshit. I've been warned I do that sometimes. Like, I start out all happy and perky, and then I become very weirdly nihilistic.
I think it's personally, it's less that you're bringing the room down and more, Spike, we've heard this rant 5 times already. Like,
look, we all have our el problema es el capitalismo moments.
Well, so what's funny is there was a test to tell if where someone was talking to a computer on the phone or a robot on the phone, and could the human tell that they were talking to a robot or not? And for the most part, people could, until they set the robot to forget if it already said a thing 10 minutes ago. And that is when it became infinitely harder to tell if you were talking to a robot, because they would not repeat them themselves.
Yeah. Plot is saying perkily nihilistic. There is actually there's a positive way of thinking about nothing matters. That's kind of like my whole deal. Nothing matters.
Yep.
And that is freeing if you permit it to be. It's like, who fucking cares? Yeah. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Like, it was like, when people think of the nihilists, they think of shit from like the Big Lebowski. We believe in nothing. Like, no, that's not what a nihilist is. A nihilist is all like, no, I'm not going to work today. I'm gonna book a couple plane tickets to Maui because I've never been there. Nothing matters. It's fine. If I get fired, what if? Nothing matters.
I really like the Groundhog Day musical, and
where the fuck did that come from?
And well, I'll get to it. It relates to nihilism. Okay. There's a song in it, Nobody Cares. And it is the main character singing with some drunk guys. Like, they took one like scene in the movie and turned it into kind of a little bit of a music montage. The scene in the movie starts with Bill Murray being like, you ever feel stuck in the same day over and over again? And these guys who clearly only drink and go to work every day are like, yep. So there is a Groundhog Day musical. And what's great about it is Tim Minchin wrote all the songs.
There's a musical for everything these days, it feels like.
It's because Broadway has an audience problem.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And by making musical adaptations of famous movies, that gets more butts in seats than
it's the same problem that Hollywood has.
Well, it's less of that because it's more they're using that to fund the other stuff. So it's not that like it's all remakes of movies. It's you usually get 1 or 2 per season, and then next year that company will that theater will have a thing that's a risk. So it's like that. So they're using the Groundhog Day musical or the Beetlejuice musical to fund the next In the Heights, or
I was literally sitting here thinking of the Beetlejuice musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is very surprisingly relatable. Surprisingly relatable.
But anyway, so to go the Death Note musical is also great. The Death Note musical slaps. It is the best version of Death Note. Anyway, so the song is called Nobody Cares, and it starts as kind of like a sad drinking country song about no one cares about these sad drunk guys and their lives. And then like halfway through, the music gets like really upbeat because it's supposed to be the moment in the movie where Bill Murray's character realizes
no one cares.
Hey, if there's no tomorrow, then that means there's no consequences for my actions.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's it's a great encapsulation of both ends of the nihilism spectrum, because there are definitely people who approach nihilism in a really depressing way, like nothing matters, so why do anything? But there's also people who are like, nothing matters, fuck yeah.
So live your life. That's my whole attitude. Live your life exactly how you want to live it. We all die full of regrets, but slide into your grave with as few regrets as possible. And sometimes, there are times I think to myself, I have to do that, because I straight up don't want to be on my deathbed going, I can't believe I never did that. Like that sounds like a bad way to go out.
I use happy nihilism to deal with anxiety. Whenever I'm anxious about a thing, it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
That works too. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Do what you want. Exactly, Snake of June. Nothing matters. Do what you want.
Also, Snake of June, the Death Note musical is produced. You can watch it on YouTube. It's just in Japanese. Because the fun thing about the Death Note musical, Spike, is the guy that they hired to write the songs is American.
Okay.
And does not speak Japanese.
All right, seems like a mistake, but go on.
He wrote the Jekyll and Hyde musical before the Death Note musical.
Okay.
And so because he didn't speak Japanese, the demo album, which is usually how musicals get funding, was recorded in English. So you can find the English demo album online. I own it. And then he sent it back to Japan. They clearly got funding. And they just translated his songs into Japanese. And what's fun is if you compare the Japanese soundtrack to the original demo album, there's a character who is a pop star in Death Note.
Okay.
And it's very clear that when they told the guy she's a pop star, he had a certain image in his mind of like an American pop star. So while most of the songs are about the same, when they translated her song, they upped the pitch and then sped it up, so it became a J-pop song.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, so it's very fun. There's a spinny stage that they get a lot of use out of. What I think is a really cool effect that they do is so in Death Note, he needs someone's face and name to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And if it turns out that the Shinigami can see someone's name and lifespan above their head.
Okay.
And so an effect that happens in the stage play is there's like a projector that is actually projecting text that is supposed to be someone's name and lifespan like above their head, based on, so they clearly like well timed the projector and like angled it correctly so it would be above, look like it's above the person's head, even though it's hitting the wall in just the right place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Death Note musical is very good.
See, all I know about musicals is what I learn on like musical dedicated YouTube channels. And so there's one I think that's called Wait in the Wings that does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's another one whose name I forget, but he did a very long, very good video about no, you don't understand. The Cats movie is actually way worse than you think it is, and I need to explain to you how bad it is. And he goes into like the plot of Cats, if you know Cats could be said to have a plot.
There isn't a plot.
Yeah, it's basically what the way he describes Cats is. It's just a bunch of people introducing themselves over and over and over, and then one character has a "I want" song, and then the whole musical goes, "Oh, okay, all right, sure," and just gives her what she wants, and then it's over. And that is the plot of Cats. And part of the whole, "I want" is this is Grisabella, okay? And Grisabella sings, "Touch me."
Memories.
Exactly. She sings Memories, and her whole bit is she's not a Jellicle cat anymore for reasons no one ever gets into. She used to be, but she's not. And she just wants another chance to dance and be a Jellicle cat. And all the other Jellicle cats are like, "Fucking ow!" And they like won't touch her. That's why she's singing "Touch me," because none of them will touch her. And then when they make the movie, like this dude is like foaming at the mouth when he describes this. He's just talking about how like one of the first things they have the Grisabella in movie Cats do is someone reaches out to touch her and she just looks at the hand like it's a dead spider and like walks away. It's like, no, the whole point of Grisabella, she literally sings "Touch me." She sings it over and over. And like, do you understand what you're doing? You don't understand anything. That's Grisabella's whole reason for existing is begging to be touched. And the first thing you have her do is reject someone's touch. What's happening? I'm going insane. You've ruined Cats.
So, it's not that she's not a Jellicle cat anymore. It's she used to be like a starlit famous cat. And she shunned the other cats while famous. And
it's so easy.
And so they're very much like, "Oh, now you deign to hang out with us."
But she's the one who gets to go to the Heaviside Lair and get reborn. So
yeah, she, and also they're singing about why they should die and go to heaven.
Yeah, all the cats are begging to die. That's the point of Cats. They're all begging to die.
I don't like Andrew Lloyd Webber's musicals.
I don't like Andrew Lloyd Webber as a person. I don't like Andrew Lloyd Webber's musicals. I don't like his aesthetic. I don't like his music. I don't like anything about Andrew Lloyd Webber. That's all fine because he's not for me, clearly.
Yes. Same hat. I much prefer Stephen Sondheim. I feel because his musicals have a plot. He also usually has a kind of cynical message underneath his happy musicals, or happy sounding musicals. Net Fisher, I do not like the Horny Train musical. I'm sorry.
The Horny Train musical, yeah, I know what that is. That's fucking like Twilight Express or something. Starlight Express. Yeah, everybody, if you haven't heard of Starlight Express, imagine a bunch of people in rollerblades, and like the actual theater stage is like a rollerblade rink that has all these twists and turns and rails to grind off of, and everybody's dressed like a fucking disco ball, and it's all about trains, and they all want to fuck each other.
Yep. Whereas I much prefer Stephen Sondheim talking about how the American dream is a lie and it fucks people up because they get entitled and then they don't actually get what they want because the American dream is a lie. And that there is a rot inside of America as a concept.
Yeah.
That is my favorite musical. It is called Assassins, and it is the story about people who tried to kill the president.
Yeah.
It is all presented like shooting the president is a carnival game. So the balladeer is like trying to talk them into shooting the president, because everyone has the right to be happy and follow their dreams.
And my dream is to shoot the president.
My dream is well. So the thing is like the undercurrent is that a lot of these people, their main motivation for trying to kill the president is that America did not, for whatever, like America's system prevented them from actually pursuing their dreams. Some of those dreams are horrible dreams that should not be fulfilled because it starts with John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah.
It goes over that John Wilkes Booth, obviously a huge racist because he's pro the Confederacy, but the reason why like it was him in particular is because he was a washed up actor.
Yep.
So this investment in the Confederacy is all he had.
Yep.
And so it's like, look at this sad, pathetic racist is kind of his song. It's the mood of his song. And that's how it opens. And then the next one is Giuseppe Zangara, and how basically he was obviously like disenfranchised for being an immigrant, but he also had a severe medical issue that went untreated because he since he was so poor and disenfranchised, like he wasn't getting that looked at and couldn't afford a doctor. He thought that the president was causing his stomach ache.
Well, who amongst us has not thought that?
And it was so very specific, the president, that he planned to kill Hoover. And then Hoover lost re-election, so he changed his assassination plans to kill FDR instead.
And again, whomst amongst us?
Yeah.
I think.
So it goes over John Hinckley's on there. What's very funny is he has a duet with Squeaky Fromme. Where they're both singing to the subject of their admiration about how they do anything for love. And it's a very pretty song out of context, and then in the context it is John Hinckley singing to Jodie Foster and Squeaky Fromme singing to Charles Manson. So that's all. My favorite musicals have murders in them.
My favorite musicals are massive failures.
Yeah? What's one of your favorites?
I believe it was called Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
You have not actually seen Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
All right, just for folks who are not aware. So we talked about this, but Broadway has an audience problem, and Broadway musicals at this point are so fucking expensive to put on that they kind of need a bunch of sure things to stack the deck just to keep the lights on and keep in business, like the playhouses and the production companies specifically. And
Mm-hmm.
so they oftentimes adapt popular films. And Spider-Man was just one film. And they said, "Oh, I know. We'll just take this Spider-Man movie and we'll put it on in this theater. We'll have to spend a whole shit ton of money just to customize the theater so we can do everything we want to do in there. And what we want to do is have Spider-Man swinging, like web swinging from the ceiling. And he'll have, so we'll have to install all of the aerial stuff so that he can do that safely. And that'll really excite people. People will love to see Spider-Man swinging above their heads in the theater. But, plot. What should we do?" And there were many cooks in that kitchen, and what ended up coming out of it was a fucking disaster. Like, they decided that the goddess Arachne was going to be involved for some reason. It was so fucking ridiculous.
Well, so the thing is, as silly as those plot things are, that wouldn't have prevented it from being a successful musical, because one of the most successful musicals in the past few years is about all of King Henry VIII's wives bitching about him. Like, that's it. That's the whole musical.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not saying Spider-Man wouldn't have.
Yeah, so it's more that the injuries caused by them not actually looking into how to safely get Spider-Man to swing around.
That was a problem, but people were not fans of the story either.
Yeah, but it probably would have made its money back if people stopped dying while making it.
I only think one person died. I think a bunch of people were injured though. But yeah,
Spider-Man, still, if people stopped getting injured.
Yeah, don't do it now because you're listening to me now. You gotta listen to me. But if you go on YouTube and you search Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, you will see videos made about it. And I think Waiting in the Wings has made one. And they're just they're just really good videos. These videos about box office disasters on Broadway. But the thing is, okay, I'm not going to share too much info because that is intrusive, but I absolutely understand what it is to be running a company. And this has happened to me multiple times now on many different scales. And I guess the one I feel most comfortable talking about is Smut Peddler. Iron Circus was kind of puttering along, and it was doing okay, and it did Porkcraft, and it did the Temple Arizona books, and that was fine. Things were fine. It was a cute little DBA, basically. It was a jumped up DBA more than a business. And I was happy and I was proud of it. And then I did the first Smut Peddler. And the very first Smut Peddler launched with me having maybe $100, $800, not a lot, in my bank account, because that was before, I had any cachet, and before I could convince people to do work and then wait to get paid. So I didn't I didn't have any money because I'd given everybody their page rates up front. And then I launched the project, and the goal was 20. I was hoping secretly, in my hubris, in my greed, I was hoping for 40, and it ended up doing 80. And that was the first big dose of rocket fuel. And that was just holy shit, we can genuinely make this work. This is something I can actually do here. And kind of for the next several years, Smut Peddler was kind of the biggest fish at Iron Circus. It was the biggest thing we did. It was the thing everyone knew us for. It was the thing that filled the coffers so that the less popular books got to survive. And so on a much smaller scale, because in no way am I saying I'm working on Broadway scale, I understand what it is to have all these projects and be all oh, this is such a good book I'm publishing, this is such a good play I'm putting on, this is such a good whatever. But if we're going to keep the lights on, the 13 cents this brings in at the end of the day in profit is not going to do it. We need Smut Peddler to pay to keep, the lights on and the presses rolling until this can pay me back. And when it does pay me back, it'll be for $14. And that's okay because it has Smut Peddler to carry it. And when you see me going on and on and on public, on social media, about everything is hit driven, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. There are different scales of hit driven, but everything is hit driven. Everybody wants that Taylor Swift to pay for their Young Gravy.
Yeah.
Smut Peddler musical. Oh god. Yeah, DBA means doing business as. Exactly. One death is too many for any Broadway musical. Very true. Very true,
Yeah.
Michael Rubin.
So yeah, I feel like the Spider-Man musical would have limped along if people hadn't died and gotten severely injured while making it.
This is all the fault of the Lion King.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's the fault of the Lion
The
King.
Lion King.
How many years was that on Broadway? How many fucking decades?
It's still on Broadway.
This is all the fault of the Lion King.
Well, no, this is the thing: is the Lion King, is the Lion King on Broadway is artistically interesting because the puppets are really cool. Mm-hmm. No one is doing any dangerous stunts in the Lion King. Mm-hmm. Like all the stuff that is complicated about the Lion King are puppetry things that are very interesting.
Yeah. Sure. How they managed to do that was very clever. The way they was like, okay, this movie is literally about animals. How are we going to fix this?
What I think is, and I wish that more Disney musicals followed the Lion King's example, because the Broadway version of a lot of Disney musicals are just boring. Mm-hmm. Like, the pacing is fucked up because a stage musical is longer than an animated short movie. Mm-hmm. So, like, they add in a bunch of padding that doesn't quite work. A lot of the times the visuals are not as creative as what happened with The Lion King. Mm-hmm. So it's I'm fine with the quote-unquote blockbuster musicals if they do something interesting. Like, the effects in the Beetlejuice musical are really interesting. I'm not really a big fan of the music in it, but I do like how they handled all the effects and stuff. And I think the story's better in the musical than it is in the Beetlejuice movie.
I will say this, and it comes from a place where I understand I am in serious danger of being thought an old fart. But when I saw the trailer, the teaser, whatever you want to call it.
But that's not the musical. That's Hollywood cashing in. Yeah. The musical's a different thing.
I understand. I'm just saying, when I saw the trailer for the Beetlejuice sequel, and it was so stupid. It's the same people, the same characters, the same songs, the same sets. They said the same lines. Like, it was.
Yes.
Is this what you do now? You know, it's just so fucking. Look, I have a lot of Hollywood opinions, and
yes, and we've heard them many times.
Yeah, and it's just, hey, I get to have opinions, and it's just one of those things where it's like, holy fuck, like, this is really. I know things are bad over there. I know they're bad over there. I get it, but really, at least I have A24.
So yeah, so
by the way, if you folks haven't seen it, now's the time to see both X and Pearl, because Maxine is in production, so you won't have to wait too long for it.
Trying to think of other musicals.
For folks who don't know, there is a trilogy. A24 is, I think, the production house for it. There's a trilogy. 2 of the movies are out. 3rd one's being made. And it stars a woman named Mia Goth. And the first one is called X. And it takes place in the 70s. And it's called a psycho-biddy movie. It's about a crazy old woman. And it's about some, like, I guess, city people who come to Texas to shoot a porno. And, you know, murder ensues. And it turns out the murderers, this isn't really a secret, the murderers are the old couple who own the farm. that the pornographers are trying to shoot their porno on. And that is X. And the old woman in X, the murderer, is Pearl. She's an old woman named Pearl. And then the sequel to X is a prequel to X at the same time, called Pearl, which is about that woman in her youth. And I watched them both, and they're both really good. And then Maxine, with 3 X's, is the third in the trilogy. And it is about the final girl, I believe TV Tropes would call her, from X. So I'm extremely excited to see. And I have not ruined it for you, even though I just said all that to you. I have not ruined any of it for you in the slightest. So you should go watch X and Pearl in preparation for Maxine.
I really want to see the Some Like It Hot musical.
I didn't even know there was a Some Like It Hot musical.
It's new. It came out last year.
Okay. I think these big nasty red lines could now do,
because they updated it for our modern understanding of gender.
Yeah.
You've seen Some Like It Hot, correct?
I sure have not.
Oh, do you know the plot?
I sure don't.
Okay, the plot of Some Like It Hot is Tony Curtis, and I forget the other actor's name. They witness a mob hit, and they need to hide from the mob, so they cross-dress and join an all-ladies band to hide from the mob, because the mob won't look for them in an all-ladies band.
Sure.
One of the dudes falls in love with another band member who is Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
And they have to basically maintain the facade that they are ladies. Yeah. But then the guy who likes Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis's character, he makes a fake male persona to pursue Marilyn Monroe with. So you get some wacky hijinks of him showing up in different costumes in different situations.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the other dude who is pretending to be a lady, and an old wealthy man falls in love with him, and keeps asking him out despite his no, I'm not interested. And then but because the guy's so wealthy, the other guy's like, well, maybe I could go get a nice dinner. And maybe I will accept these expensive gifts that this millionaire is giving me. It ends with the mob finding them, and they have to make a getaway, and they use the one guy basically seduces the billionaire to get him to drive a getaway boat so they can escape the mob, while other dude reveals his true identity to Marilyn Monroe so he can end up happily ever after with her. It ends it ends with I believe it is where the Nobody's Perfect originates from, is because the dude is trying to let the millionaire down gently. He's like, we can't get married. And he's like, oh no, whatever the problem is, we can fix it. He's like, I can't have children. We'll adopt. I'm a terrible cook. We'll hire a cook. And just every excuse gets deflected until finally the guy pulls off his wig and goes, I'm a man. And the millionaire goes, nobody's perfect. So it ends with Tony Curtis is going to end up with Marilyn Monroe. And I guess the millionaire still plans to marry the other guy. So in reading about the musical, they updated it that the dude who is getting hit on by the millionaire maybe realizes that they some gender stuff about themselves. So they maybe like wearing dresses.
Nothing wrong
And
with
they
that.
have a non-binary actor playing the character. So it is um, they basically realize they're non-binary.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but it's set in the 20s, so they don't say non-binary, but it's
Yeah,
basically like, well, sometimes I want to be a man and sometimes I want to be a woman.
yeah. The verbiage
Um,
doesn't exist, but that didn't mean the people didn't.
yeah. Um, so yeah, it's a very fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of old comedies haven't aged well, but that one
Oh
did
yeah,
pretty well, like
yeah.
despite the subject matter. Like you'd expect a subject matter like that to not do well, but
Yeah, it I have a term for this I use at home with Matt because Matt watches a lot of old movies and we talk about them sometimes. And the term that we use is it we call it getting aristocrated. And
mhm.
that's when you're watching an old thing and you're all like, "Oh, this is charming. This is actually really nice." Oh, you know what? When I'm done watching this, I'm going to go and recommend it on Blue Sky cuz I don't see anyone talking about this old. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's why I don't see anyone talking about this movie. It's just like it's doing its thing and it's being funny and interesting and engaging, and then out of nowhere it's like super racist or super transphobic, and you're just like, ooh, okay, I see why no one talks about you anymore.
Yeah, Some Like It Hot is a movie about cross-dressing that is not transphobic,
Mm-hmm.
um, but was also made in the 60s. Um,
Which is a hell of a
so it's
trick.
yeah.
There we go.
Um,
So let's see what we got here.
so yeah, so the oh, it came out in 59.
Damn.
Um and it is apparently credited for being one of the big dings in the Hays Code.
Ah.
Because there's cross dressing all over it.
I'd pay for an Eek the Cat musical. Eek the Cat feels like one of those things that everybody has completely forgotten about to me, nudist. It's like I watched Eek the Cat religiously when I was a little kid. That was one of my favorite cartoons. I loved Eek the Cat. But like now it's like it didn't exist. It's weird. Like no one has like Eek the Cat nostalgia. Everyone talks about SpongeBob and shit, but no one talks about Eek the Cat. They even
Nick
talk about, in
Fisher's
my
sometimes
opinion,
you've
in
gotta walk a
inferior
mile in
cartoons.
someone else's pumps to learn who you are. Yeah, that's good.
I have my
But
volume
yeah,
cranked to here. I don't know why I'm so quiet. I'm sorry. I'm gonna see if I can't make
if
myself
I
louder.
if I can find a slime tutorial of Some Like It Hot, that I'm gonna be extremely happy.
I have my volume cranked all the way up to 150. Let's put it up to one. Let's put it up to 200. Let's see what that does. There we go. 200. Maybe I should just naturally be closer to the mic. Let me just scooch on over a little bit.
That also might be it.
I don't understand why it's so. I always have these issues. Maybe I should just get a headset, you know? There we go.
Well, the thing with headsets is sometimes the mic and the headphone part interfere with each other.
Yeah.
On the streaming stuff.
Yeah. Poor them. Oh, I fucking loved the Max. Holy shit. Oh wow. Like, oh, that's when I'm at my most. You kids these days. When I think about MTV cartoons, like fuck. Again, and speaking of stuff like no one thinks about or talks about anymore, like what the fuck? How have we as a civilization so thoroughly failed Aeon Flux? How have we done that? Like that was the fucking best cartoon of my 20s, you know? Like that was an amazing fucking cartoon. And everyone I talk to who sees it and remembers it was like, "Holy shit. Oh my god, Aeon Flux." And like why isn't that like the crown jewel in MTV's fucking like there must be like all I can guess is there must be some behind the scenes shit we will never be privy to. Like that's the only explanation. I used to think maybe it was a case where it's like there was one executive at MTV who was like, you know, both just dual wielding both barrels, just fucking going hard in the paint for animation. just being like, we have to have really good animation on MTV. We have to. And then he either retired or moved on, and there's just no one to pick up that battle banner, and they just let it die, which is like fucking stupid, but that's what they did. I just don't understand. Seriously, everybody, like, I know how we all feel about Amazon, but if you go on Amazon Prime, you can buy all of Aeon Flux, and it is so shitty because it's not like HD or anything. Like, no one cares about it. But if you go on there, you can buy all of Aeon Flux for like $9. It's ridiculous. It's so fucking good. Snake of June is saying the live action Aeon Flux movie. Yeah, probably. I mean, that movie was really offensive. And, like, when I say offensive, I don't mean, disagreed with me on a political matter. What I mean is, no, it's like, it is offensive to the original vision of the creator. And I'm just like, see, I'm having to modulate my words these days in ways that I never dreamed I would have to, but it pays to be careful. I think people should be very careful about what they sign over to large corporations. The end.
I was just looking at what is nominated for Tonys this year.
Yeah.
And we have Hell's Kitchen, which is a jukebox musical using all Alicia Keys' music. We have Illinois, which looks like doesn't have a plot based on how it's being described. It seems like it's a dance showcase. And then The Outsiders, which is based off the book, it looks like.
Is that Stay Golden Pony Boy?
Yep.
Cool.
Then Suffs, which is about suffragettes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Water for Elephants, which is about a boy who joins a circus.
Okay.
It's after losing what matters most, a young man jumps a moving train and finds a new home with a remarkable crew of a traveling circus and a love beyond his wildest dreams. Seen through the eyes of his older self, his adventure becomes a poignant reminder that if you choose the ride, life can begin again at any age. It is also based off a book.
That makes me think of, does anyone here remember Big Fish?
Yes.
I understand, like, everybody's feelings are kind of like turning around on Tim Burton, and like mine are too, like a lot, but I wish he'd stop talking. But there was a thing I was watching, a retrospective on YouTube by one of those YouTube opinion channels, just film theory channels.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about how, in their opinion, Big Fish was the last Tim Burton movie. And they went through this whole big rigmarole about why they felt that way, and they said it was like there was this sense of magic and experimentation and the unexpected that is no longer present in his current work. And I was like, I need to go back and rewatch Big Fish, because I remember the general outline of it, but I definitely don't remember the details.
I said I think Big Eyes was him recapturing that a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
so
folks
I feel like it's more he's just phoning it in until he feels the passion. So he can get he can pull it out again if he feels like it. It's just usually he does not feel like it because he's old.
Like, I think of Tim Burton these days in the same way I think of, I'm not trying to insult Tom Hanks, but so Tom Hanks was Geppetto in the Disney remake of Pinocchio that everyone seems to have instantly forgotten. And I think to myself, somebody went to this man's house, because he's Tom Hanks. Like, he's Tom Hanks. Somebody went to this man's house, and they quietly walked into, the living room or wherever he was sitting, and they sat down, and they took out a checkbook, and they put it out and turned it so it was facing him, and then they signed it. And then in the notes section, they just wrote, to star as Geppetto in Pinocchio. And they just said, write whatever you want. They just said, whatever you want, we'll pay it. Because that is the only way I can imagine Tom Hanks doing that fucking movie. Like that, or he owed somebody a favor. It was just such a bad... I don't know if anyone here missed, hopefully you missed, the remake of Pinocchio, which was like somehow less poignant and less daring than something made 60 years ago. It's fucking ridiculous. It's so wild.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, some actors, and I do partly respect it, just check clears.
They don't care.
Like they don't care. Yeah. Like I remember, I think it was Michael Caine was asked about an absolutely atrocious movie that he was in, and he said, yeah, it bought me a house, and that's it. Like that was the only comment he had on the quality of the movie.
Yeah, I can absolutely understand that. I absolutely can understand that. It just, the thing is, though, actors do need to be careful, because if they're in a movie that's too bad, suddenly they aren't ever in movies again, you know? So it's not like
but when they're older, like when you're Tom Hanks, people aren't going to stop hiring Tom Hanks. Yeah. Like, so he has to be in a succession of very bad movies to undo his reputation.
Del Toro, yes, the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio that is on Netflix. Woo! That was something. Great. It definitely cleaved closer to the original novel, which is interesting, but it definitely he still riffed on it, which was also interesting. Cuz Guillermo definitely has opinions about war the same way,
He specifically has opinions about fascism.
And fascism. And I was about to say the same way a certain man over at Ghibli clearly has opinions about war.
Well, so like Ghibli has opinions about war. Mm-hmm. Del Toro has opinions about fascism. Yeah. Like, because I feel like it's not that he's anti-war, it's he's anti-fascism. That is the through line in all of his stuff. Yeah. Like,
Pan's Labyrinth.
Have you seen Shape of the Water?
No, but I have seen Pan's Labyrinth.
So the villain in Shape of the Water is a fascist. Like, just flat out.
Wait. Fishman movie. Yes, I have seen Fishman movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, for some reason I was confusing that with the Here's My Movie, where the villain is a movie critic guy. M. Night Shyamalan, that's his name. I was confusing it with that. The fucking petty ass movie.
There's also Devil's Backbone. Mm-hmm. Is also like fascists are the problem. Mm-hmm. So it's very clear that like it's not war in general that Del Toro is against. Mm-hmm. Because he frequently has like heroic people in a war, like because in Pan's Labyrinth you have like the underground resistance against the fascists, and they're not villainized for taking part in war, like because they're against the fascists. So
right. I am about to make so much fucking work for myself. I have decided that there is just going to be this great big cave interior here, and I am just making up so much of it, and it's such a bad idea. I shouldn't be doing this.
Though, speaking of nostalgia bait, you know what I watched recently, Spike?
Garbage.
Bill and Ted Face the Music.
I skipped that one for the same reason. I still haven't been able to bring myself to watch the new Dark Crystal stuff on Netflix because it's like, no, I have my memories and I don't want you to ruin them. Thank you. I don't want you to Star Wars me where you show me something so bad it makes me hate the stuff I originally loved.
It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The girls that play Keanu Reeves and the other guy's daughter, they're basically the same characters but teenage girls now.
Okay.
And they do a very good job of that prompt. You are playing Bill and Ted but as teenage girls in modern day rather than teenage boys in the 80s. And like those girls did a great job living up to that task.
Good.
There's a very funny couples counseling scene where Bill and Ted go to couples counseling with their princesses from the Middle Ages that they married. And their couples counseling is the four of them.
Okay.
And the couples counselor is, so you don't see this as odd? And they're like, nope, we're a couple of couples.
That's cute.
And I was like, I support their airheaded polycule.
Now, see, a polycule would make more sense.
Yeah. I feel like that's what they are. They just didn't flat out say it in the movie. Like, they all live together.
Oh, they do?
And, Bill named his daughter Ted, and Ted named his daughter Bill.
Oh, no. No, see, that movie seems to be going for the right vibe then, though.
Yes.
Like, not taking itself super seriously. Although I have to say, I sit here and I shit on the whole idea of, like, let the franchise die, let new things breathe. But I am tempted. I am tempted by the newer Ghostbusters stuff, where it's about Egon's family. Because Egon was my favorite. And, like, a thing about Egon's legacy appeals to me.
That's a trap.
Is it a trap?
That's a trap.
Egon was my absolute favorite. And I don't know why. He just was. Like, as a small child
Because he's the funniest one. Like, that's why he was your favorite.
I collect molds and funguses.
Yeah.
I just really liked him. I like that sort of, that kind of like buzzkill, no nonsense, flat affectness about him. I really like that.
Yeah. He's the best one.
And when they were like, here's Egon's granddaughter, I was like, really? Oh, she looks like Egon. You know, so I was like, that'd be nice. Maybe I should watch that. Like, maybe I should give that a chance.
No. It's a trap.
CGI. No, I don't want to see a CGI deepfake of Harold Ramis. No, that is literally the last thing I fucking want. I don't want that. Like, I'm sad he's dead, but he's dead. Just stop. Oh, can we just, like, again, it's like that joke everyone's saying. It's like, hey, everybody, we figured out how to make the Torment Nexus from the book Don't Make the Torment Nexus. Want to see? It's like, oh, look, Black Mirror episode. Remember your least favorite Black Mirror episode? We thought we should do that. I don't want to see it now, so congratulations.
I'm just letting you know that is a trap. I was tempted to watch that Spider-Man movie where they pulled the older Spider-Mans because I love the guy that plays Doc Ock. I love that version of Doc Ock. I was tempted. I fought that and resisted, and then saw reviews that I was correct in being like, I should resist this urge, that this is a trick.
I don't know where to take it from here, so I'm just gonna fucking dive in and just ruin it and just fuck it up and make it all bad and everything. Ugh. I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna absolutely regret this. I'm gonna be so angry at myself for doing this. But you know what? I'm doing a comic that has no deadline. It has nobody waiting on me for it. It has nobody tapping their watch and being all like, "You're gonna misprint." Like, no, I get to do this. So it's
Snake
fun.
of June. See, the thing is it wasn't a good instinct because my instinct was to go see it. I fought that instinct to be like, no, this is a trap. Resist this.
Yeah, but for me, this sounds strange, but for me, the stars of the Ghostbusters weren't like, the four guys. It was Egon and Ecto 1. Those were the stars of Ghostbusters for me. So, like, all my little weird brainstem sort of buttons were flicked and pressed by the trailer for this first of this series of not Star Wars, goodness. First of this series of Ghostbusters films, where it was like the Ecto 1 in a barn, And like, it was, next thing you see, it's like tearing ass through an old wheat field. I'm like, yeah. I have that, I call it twuck. I have this sort of really primitive appreciation of certain kinds of cars. And when I saw that, I was just like, twuck. Like a 3-year-old playing with a Hot Wheels. Twuck. That's me. Sometimes I love twuck. Like whenever rally racing comes around and the Russian team shows up, I'm just like, twuck. I love it. Yes, I know. Very problematic. Very bad. All levels. Questionable. Morally questionable.
How dare you?
Yeah, should be interrogated.
How dare you?
The Kamaz Master Racing Team is, they refuse to sign a thing that says that they condemn the invasion of Ukraine, and that's bad. That's bad. But twuck. But we all have our problematic faves, so whatever. None of these is perfect, etc., so on.
Also, Spike,
mm-hmm.
to support Egon's the best one.
Yes.
Clearly the cartoons knew that too.
Oh yeah.
Because they made the real Ghostbusters cartoon that was like, oh, we took the guys from the movie and just made episodic adventures. But then when they tried to do like the late 90s reboot Ghostbusters cartoon,
mm-hmm.
Egon was the only one. He was like the elderly mentor to the new gang. So clearly they realized he is the one that should stick around.
Yeah, he was the no nonsense one. I appreciate that in a bad scientist.
The setup for the next gen one was Egon was a professor and they were all the kids that signed up for his class. One was because it was a goth girl who like actually knew about his work. One was a slacker dude who heard that it was an easy class to get an A in. I forget the other guys. I think the other guy, he was like it filled the science requirement that he needed, and his schedule that he was taking. But yeah. So yeah, they recognized that Egon and Janine were the characters to keep, like, as continuity, like, as you move forward.
Okay. So this top one is going to be like, so on the previous page, Ta pulls open their little brood pouch there.
Their
brood pouch. And it hurts because, I mean, if you did that to any part of your body, it'd probably hurt too. But sometimes you got to do that for the joke. And this is Ta now that the joke has been told and the heaviness in the air has lifted somewhat, and they're giggling at their own fucking joke because laughing at your own joke, always classy. They're going hee 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 hee, ouch. And then Bettany goes, okay, give me your hand. And Ta goes, it's fine, I'm not a baby. And Bettany's like, just give me your hand. And they are about to descend. Part of the reason they're in their underwear, everyone, is there's water here. It's wet down here. There's a lot of water. And so that means when you have one set of clothing, you do your best to keep it nice.
Well, the page that I'm drawing is Vampire Girl on a previous page. She's been kind of wandering the streets in a daze, not realizing that there's still blood on her face. But it's blood that she like tried to wipe off, so it's not obviously just around her mouth. It's like all over her face. And then she runs into the girl that she's been flirting with, who doesn't know that she's a vampire. Who's like, holy shit, what happened to you? And because vampires get the memories of people they eat, she's like, I'm heading home and I don't know where that is. So the girl who doesn't know that she's a vampire is like, oh, let's get you cleaned up. So they have gone, they're getting lost vampire girl cleaned up. This lady does not realize that the blood is not there because of an injury.
Okay.
But I'm having her like get a first aid kit and be like, last page ended with, it's not an emergency, I said I was fine. And the girl that's cleaning her up is like, you are covered in blood and don't know where you are.
By the way,
you are not fine.
While I'm thinking about caves, I'm going to recommend everyone listening to this watches the Neanderthals special that just went up on Netflix. And part of that is because they talk briefly about what is undoubtedly and unavoidably an example of Neanderthal art. Because it is a cave formation. Imagine the depths of a cave that is covered in stalactites and stalagmites. And somebody has gone in there and they have knocked a bunch of stalactites and stalagmites over. And they have piled them into a ridge that makes a circle in the middle of the cage. A circle that's big enough for like 15 people to sit in. So this formation of knocked over stalagmites and stalactites inside the cage have been piled into like almost a really low fence around this area, that there is definitely evidence of what I believe they referred to as thermal change, which means they lit a fire in the middle at some point. And we know that Homo sapiens didn't do this. We know for a fact they couldn't have done this because this formation is so old that the stalactites and stalagmites that were knocked over to make it have had a chance to grow again. So they have grown in like, you have to imagine like a bunch that are knocked over and then on top of that, another one is growing. And it's like a foot, 2 feet tall. Cool. And that means this formation is measurable in geologic time. It's at least 100,000 years old, I think they said. And that is way before any Homo sapien lived in that part of Europe. So the only people who could have done it were Neanderthals. Cool. Which is super fucking cool. Because, like, there's always going to be things that are, like, utterly unknowable, you know? And, like, this is one of those things. Like, what did they think they were doing? That's so cool to me. It's so fucking cool. Also, it features the Kennis brothers, who are some of my favorite artists ever. They do a lot of anthropological reconstructions. And they did a reconstruction of the newest Shanidar Neanderthal. If you are not a fucking loser, you probably don't realize that Shanidar Cave in Iraqi Kurdistan has produced some of the best examples of Neanderthal remains on Earth. And they keep going back and they keep finding more. And they found a set of remains they refer to now as Shanidar Z. And and the Kennis brothers reconstructed Shanidar Z for the show. And she looks fucking incredible. She looks amazing. She looks like somebody you want to have coffee with. She looks so cool.
Rad.
Yes. The Kennis brothers are the fucking best. Oh, I love them. I love their Lucy. I love their Tallinn Man. I love their Utsi. Even though it turns out it looks like their Utsi is no longer accurate because they sequenced Utsi's DNA. And they're thinking he had darker skin, like he was Turkish. and he had a bald head. So they might actually have to go and fix the model they made for the museum.
So very cool. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, me too. I fucking love that shit. Oh, I follow Tom Bjorklund both on Twitter. Nudist is asking if I know about Tom Bjorklund. I follow Tom Bjorklund on Twitter and on Blue Sky. He does paleo art. For folks who aren't familiar, he's fucking incredible. His people that he draws they're so warm and human and relatable. His Neanderthals and his Australopithecines and just they're so fucking cool. I love a good drawing of an Australopithecine or a Neanderthal or Homo erectus or what have you. They're so good. They're so good. Oh, I've mentioned this before, but I was talked out of being an archaeologist as a child.
You know what movie is still great?
What?
Jurassic Park.
It is. It is. It still looks good, which is pretty amazing.
And like the good parts of it are also still good. Like the writing wise, like it's good shit.
Okay, so he's saying
Jurassic Park the book is garbage though.
I should note, by the way, I've mentioned this before. I do the dialogue on the page. So I'm now sitting here quietly trying to figure out what they should be saying. Ta is laughing, and then Bettany goes, okay, give me your hand. And then Ta goes, I'm fine. And Bettany goes, just give me your hand so you don't drown. Or something like that. I'm trying to figure out a way for him to say that. I'll just write it down here. This is not the final text. It's just something I can come back to. So I know where I was going. But I know where I'm going from here. Basically, they're going to go down through the water. And Ta is going to be very amazed by this. He's going to be all like, they seriously carry whole dead bodies down here? Like, I mean, in this fucking, like, waist deep water. They carry dead bodies through this? And Bettany's like, yeah, absolutely. And Ta's like, what a waste of time. Like, this is so difficult. I just leave it at the cave entrance. And Bettany will say something to the effect, well, then you definitely, not make it to the final ride, just like Eki says, because that's a shitty thing to do. You're not supposed to just leave them there. And then he will mention to Ta, we almost buried you here, by the way. Did you know that? And Ta will say something to the effect of, I can't die. And then we'll start going through all the dead bodies.
Yay, dead bodies.
Yeah. We're going to see some burial rites. It'll be fun. And those are going to be some slow-ass pages to make because I'm going to have a lot of fun with all the little itsy-bitsies and teeny-weenies and all the frippery. And I have to decide how they get buried and, what it means and stuff. And, like, I have a general idea of where I want to go with it. But I have never actually, like, hardcore committed it to paper. And it's weird because the thing is, this is just a dumb little fucking webcomic. I can change whatever I want, right? But it feels like once I put it down, I'm committed. Like I can't go back and undo it. Which isn't true.
That's kind of how I'm treating world building stuff and City Between. Like once it's in the comic proper, then it's committed. Then it's quote unquote canon.
Yeah.
Until then it's like loosey goosey, like I can change it on a whim.
Yeah, like I talked about this before on Blue Sky too, but okay, so I'm old now. I'm like a fucking grandma. I'm like 45. I'm ancient. I'm decrepit. I'm a mummy. And I now know with absolute certainty firsthand what happens to people who are constantly waiting to make their magnum opus and are like stuck in this cycle of eternal preparation for it. Where they're like, no, I can't draw a page one until I decide what the women in the society wear on their birthdays postmenopausally. And it's like, no. I applaud your dedication to world building, but you need to fucking stop and just make the comic. Like, bless your heart. I have that exact same impulse. Just make the fucking comic. Make it on, like, if you make a mistake, oh fucking well. If you contradict yourself 50 pages later, it's not going to be the end of the world. And I absolutely hate to be the one to let you know, but chances are you are the only one who's going to fucking notice. There have been so many times a page has gone up and Bettany, he didn't have his fucking stripes. And they've been up for like 2 days and nobody noticed. And then I went and saw them and I went, oh shit. And I drew the stripes on and I re-uploaded the page and no one noticed. No one noticed. No one said anything. And like, in a way that's kind of comforting because, you know, people are reading the comic.
It's also people give way more credit to authors about planning stuff.
Yeah.
I remember talking about Terry Pratchett's stuff and someone was like, well, he probably had it all figured out. Like he had an answer in his head for all those questions. And I was like, he has a book halfway through the Discworld series where time explodes and then they put it back together, quote unquote, poorly. Mm-hmm. And that is the explanation for all of his continuity errors. He wrote a whole book that was basically stop asking me about continuity. Like,
yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, I will get back on the horse.
It's also funny because that's one of the better books. Time exploded.
Yeah, and pencil ears, in some places it is light, but in some places my dumbass just fucking forgot. And I didn't notice for like, sometimes I notice like 3 minutes after upload, sometimes I notice 2 days. And I'm just like, oh my fucking God, it's a good thing no one pays you to do this. But seriously, if I ever have like a big oopsie doopsie, a big fucky wucky, where I proclaim something about this culture and then I need to go back and undo it, oh well, I'll go back and undo it. You know, it'll be fine. It's fine. It's about the story. People will admire a nicely built culture and a nicely built world. But at the end of the day, they're there for the story more than anything else. Unless it's Dinotopia, then you're there for the pretty drawings of dinosaurs. But I'm not making Dinotopia here. I'm making fucking Fievel Mouskowitz and the Keebler Elf Posse, you know, doing Tomb Raider. Yeah. That's what I'm making.
I'm doing like the supernatural creatures talking about the metaphors of capitalism.
You can retcon as these guys being idiots. Yes, that's my secret sauce pencil ears. They're morons. They're absolute fucking morons. They're canon morons. You guys have no idea how fucking stupid these three are.
So many readers don't understand that characters can lie.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I am surprised not a ton of people commented on is when Bettany kills a man with his bare hands in an incredibly brutal way, and then he goes back to where he and Ta and Eki live, and they ask him what happened, and he just goes, got away, and just like keeps going, and like doesn't even blink, and like the page doesn't pause or zoom in on his face or anything like that. He just says, yeah, I got away, in a really casual kind of way that suggests this is not only a thing he's been doing, but a thing that his own family doesn't know he's been doing. And I'm surprised not a lot of people picked up on that. But yeah, Bettany, this isn't his first time fucking randomly killing somebody who didn't deserve it. He just kills people. All narrators are unreliable. Very true, Net Fisher. Although I do think some people use the unreliable narrative thing as an easy out sometimes, where stuff just doesn't hang together and they're all like, well, she was lying to you, haha. It's like, okay, what was her impetus about lying about the color of the minivan? Like that doesn't make sense. I think that's just you forgetting. It's okay. Spike, are you trying to make me like a psychopath? Well, he's not I don't think Bettany's a psychopath. I think Bettany does what Bettany has to do. I think that there's this, this sounds so bullshit. There's this line that I first learned of in a Fun Lovin' Criminals song where it's society prepares the crime and the criminal merely commits it. Where when you kind of have no choice, where it's like you either steal or you fucking die, you just steal and you're just okay with it. And there's a lot of things Bettany does and he just does them and he's okay with it because he kind of has to be. Because like, what are his options?
Spike.
Cal.
Oh, I was gonna say a thing and now I've forgotten it. Sorry, my train of thought was
You're
derailed.
old.
Thousands died.
You're old. You're old. You're fucking old, just like me.
Um,
But yeah.
there's something about all narrators are unreliable.
Yeah. Maybe I should have him grabbing it like that. Also, I've mentioned this before, but I am probably going to take the lazy way out. Okay, I don't know if anyone here reads China Miéville novels, but China Miéville, excuse me, novels, they have like chapters or paragraphs in them. Ian M. Banks does this too, I should mention. They have these notes in them that are all like, look, I could go through the trouble to make up a word, but I'm not going to because there's no real point in that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call this creature a horse because that is the role it fulfills in this society. It is clearly not a horse. It is clearly not a rabbit, this creature I'm calling a rabbit. It is clearly not a dog, this creature I'm calling a dog. Because this is an alien planet and this story is not about people, but we're going to call them horses, rabbits, and dogs because ain't nobody got time for making up a bunch of names for shit. And I think I might do that.
What I think is very funny, and this is on the topic of like world building stuff. I really like the show Mythic Quest.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Mythic Quest is about a gaming studio that makes a game that is not World of Warcraft called Mythic Quest.
Capital N, not World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it's not World of Warcraft, but it's an online multiplayer MMO like sandbox.
Legally distinct World of Warcraft, yeah.
Yeah. There is a guy on the staff who was a sci-fi writer from the 70s, who won one Nebula Award and then kind of hasn't written anything as good as what he wrote in the 70s since. And he has been hired to write the lore of the MMO.
Right.
They get a lot of humor out of he is an old man that does not understand video games. But what's very funny is so they do a flashback that is about him trying to get published and other sci-fi writers. Net Fisher, Charlie Day is not in it. The guy who plays Mac is the lead of the gaming studio. I believe Charlie Day's like an executive producer on it, but as far as I know, he's not really involved in it. But it's the guy who plays Mac. It's his show. They do an episode that is about that guy trying to get published in the 70s and people's critiques of his work are basically he got too caught up in the world building, so he is bogging it down with like stuff that doesn't really matter and doesn't really say anything or help the story move forward. And it's also frequently different for the sake of being different rather than like serving the narrative or making an overall point.
Right, yeah. I've seen a lot of that. Holy shit.
And so what I think is fun, though, is that is why he is perfect for writing lore for this MMO.
Yeah. People love that shit.
And so I thought it was cool because it's simultaneously, as someone who is creative and a writer, I immediately understood what was wrong with his writing, like based on what people are saying. And I know the type of writer he is.
Oh, for
but
sure.
That also makes him perfect for writing the type of video game that he's on. So, because with an MMO, he just has to say, like, this is from the such and such, like, mountains when the hero of so-and-so originally wielded it against the blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, so, Uh, and yeah, it's a good show. It's also a thing I like about it is kind of in the middle of every season they have a flashback episode that is not always like main characters flashback. Like there's the place where they all work, the studio that they're renting, it tells the story about the rise and fall of the um game designer company that was before them that rented the space. So it's them making like a weird indies 90s game called Quiet Dark Death. And how it was a big hit and then slowly over time capitalism ruins it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the sequel is, well, when making the sequel, they want to give the characters a flashlight. And the goth lady who like made up the game is like, but then you're not in the dark. And then it's not Quiet Dark Death. And they're like, yeah, but people want to be able to like see the nice design work that you're doing better. And then she compromises and lets them put a flashlight in the game. And then the next one, it's like, well, we want people to be able to kill the monsters.
Oh, God, yeah, okay.
And it's like, what do you mean kill the monsters? They're supposed to be inescapable. It's like, well, like people want a gun. And it's so now the quiet part is gone because you have loud bangs everywhere. And then like the final sequel, well, people want to win.
I'm trying to. This is. Oh, I can sense it right now. I'm gonna be fucking. This page is gonna kick my ass. I can sense it. I can sense it. Oh, I feel everything going wrong right away. Oh, I can tell it's gonna be bad. You know what? Like, cause like here's the thing. If you're in a cave and it's wet, everybody, there's gonna be some kind of indication that it's been wet for a long time. You know what I mean? And like I want it to have like mineral deposits, and if these walls are like genuinely this old, like I'm trying to figure out how Fraggle Rock to go with this, which is like my terminology. Like, is it going to be whimsical or is it going to be, you know, jagged and fucked up? Like, because those are the two ways I can go. It can be full of whimsy, or it can be full of little sharp points. And if it's full of sharp points, that means it's newer. But if it's kind of worn down and full of drippy bits, that means it's older. And my first impulse is to make it full of drippy bits. But like I don't know if I just don't know. I don't know like how drippy to make it, like, because if you make it too drippy, despite the fact there are caves that look like that, people are like, that looks fake. So it's just it's an issue. It's an issue. I'm gonna have to fucking figure out what I'm gonna do about this, because I don't want it to fucking suck. I want it to be nice.
Snake of June, are you asking if the old sci-fi writer is a dig at anyone?
Limestone.
I don't think he's a dig at anyone in particular, because you find out the reason why he never matched his first work that won an award is because he plagiarized it from Isaac Asimov.
Oh dear.
Yeah, the thing is he gives Isaac Asimov his manuscript, and asks for feedback, and he assumes he's not going to get any. But Isaac Asimov does very nicely give him feedback and rewrites. He the whole thing is like, thank you for sharing my story with me. I liked your use of backstory. I have made some suggestions in red type. Feel free to use them or not. After all, it's your story. And then he opens it and he sees like the entire opening paragraph is rewritten. And then he flips to the next page and like 90% of the next page has red text over it. And like basically Isaac Asimov rewrote his entire story. So, and then he just retyped Isaac Asimov's version of his story and submitted that to a publisher, won an award for it because it's an Isaac Asimov story.
I'm learning from pencil ears. Limestone is about the only kind of rock that forms caves because it drains water. Everything else just holds groundwater. Yeah, okay. Then these are going to be limestone caves, I suppose. Because my whole plan, if I can just fuck up this page, is like, okay, so here's the entrance. Here's where you walk in. And then you go down, down, down a little bit. And then whoosh! It goes down like that. And then there's some water. And like, you know, here's you. Your wiener. Your huge wiener. And this is you. And it's like the water is sometimes really, really high. Sometimes really, really low. And you walk through. And the ceilings are very... You know, let the music play, clap, clap. And worries for another day. And then it just sort of like branches off into a whole bunch of different chambers. And these people, again, since we know they're marsupials, I should note that female marsupials functionally have 2 vaginas. And so they kind of, you know, people imprint themselves on their environments, and so they kind of interpreted this cave as the vagina of the world, leading to the various wombs of the world. And so each group has its own burial area that like they've been depositing the bones of their ancestors in for a bajillion years. And Bettany is going to be very moral, and he is going to basically only try and steal from his own ancestors, but there's just not a lot there. And it's just going to sort of emphasize how they have no fucking money, and they've never had any fucking money. Like, there's nothing to steal from their ancestors' graves. So they have to go to another tomb. And this is risky because people are still being buried here. So whatever they take, there is a possibility it will be noticed. Like, no one's going to go into their stupid bullshit baby ass garbage burial chamber, but the burial chambers that belong to the richer groups is going to have all the good shit in it. And they're going to carefully, you have to imagine air quotes here, carefully pick through it and try and find something that they can steal without being noticed. And it turns out, oh well, someone noticed. Oopsie daisy. And while there's a lot of reasons those people showed up to kick Bettany's ass and kick Ta's ass and kick Eki's ass, the specific reason they're there is they were there to bury someone and they noticed some stuff missing. And it was one of those deals where it's like, you know who fucking did it, right? And so they went looking for Bettany, Eki, and Ta. And that moment where Bettany looks at the knife and that dude, Chad, I've been calling him mentally, standing in the mouth of their little tree under area, kind of narrows his eyes. It's because he recognizes that knife. That's one of the knives they stole. So we are actually in a flashback right now. Oh God, no, pencilers, I totally appreciate your geology info dump. I am far from a geologist. I'm far from a caving expert. Ooh, your other after is volcanic too, but they're weird. Everything. It means your planet had a prehistory with shelled animals. Okay, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Ooh, fossils. I should do this. But cold hollows, which is the pressure in the ground that collects cold air. Oh, okay. But the water drains out, so they kill you. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll actually have to fucking steal this. Yeah, do this. Yeah, that's how you spell it, Chad. But, everybody, you beautiful, wonderful people, you helpful angels, it is 10 past 10, and I need to go have a drink and lie on the couch. And by drink, I mean a fucking grapefruit juice, because I'm a boring teetotaler. So, Cal, do you want to end it here?
Sure. I mean, I have 2 more panels that are talking heads, so if we could go slightly longer,
No, I want to lie down. I've had a long day.
Okay.
Everybody, thank you for coming. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell so you know every time we have one of these. It really does help the channel grow. I am Spike. You've been watching me draw a comic called Blakada. It is based on Central Asia, horse cultures, revolution, hierarchy, and disappointment. It stars 3 lovable little criminals, one of which is definitely a murderer, but he's going to be your favorite. You can read it at http:// www.blickata.com. Not HTTPS, because that's just a forwarding address. It just sends you to my pillow fort. Blickata.com, everybody. I run Iron Circus Comics. Iron Circus Comics is the largest publisher in the American Midwest. We put out between 12 and 15 books a year, specializing in the strange and amazing. Coming out in under a month is Evan Dom's latest, Last Delivery, which is about a delivery boy trying to deliver a package to a resident, and it's not going well. I fucking love the shit out of this book, and I strongly recommend you get it. Out recently, if you have any younger relatives, they might enjoy Student Ambassador in the Silver City. It's by Ryan Estrada. It's the second in the Student Ambassador series, about a little boy who can pretty much talk himself and other people out of any situation. It's really cool, and it would be great for, grade school, maybe middle grade readers. I think they'd really enjoy it. We also have a crowdfund coming soon. So why don't you follow us on BackerKit so you're the first to know when it goes live.
I'm Kel. I make comics you can read at kellmcdonald.com. It is about gay werewolves in the future and occasionally about vampires, which are capitalists. I have been drawing the newest story in that. I stream at twitch.tv/kellmcdonald. Usually I do drawing streams on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursday nights. But starting Sunday, I'm going to start playing some video games. First, I'm going to play some Baldur's Gate. So if you would like to watch me play as a beautiful tiefling that's going to murder and seduce their way through Baldur's Gate, please come join me Sunday evening. My tiefling boy is so pretty. Spike's seen him. He's a great septum piercing.
He's adorable.
Yes. You can read my comics at kellmcdonald.com. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/kellmcdonald. I hate social media, so I'm not going to promote those. But please follow me on Twitch.
Fair enough. Thank you for coming, everyone. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.